So good morning, everyone. It's great to be back here at the Dubai Future Forum. You're part of the biggest gathering of futurists in the world, and there's no need for me to tell you twice that this is a pivotal moment for considering some of the challenges in the future vis-à-vis children. The world is changing faster than ever. Demographic shifts, climate crisis, and new technologies are transforming every aspect of life, including for children. However, UNICEF's mission doesn't change. We continue to work to protect children's rights for every child. But this doesn't mean that we do business as usual. Our mission demands that we react not only to what's happening today, but also anticipate the many challenges and opportunities of tomorrow. So this morning, what better place than here to launch the State of the World's Children for 2024, UNICEF's flagship report. This year's edition provides key insights into the trends shaping the future of childhood. And at UNICEF, we believe that it can guide to help us all think about the decisions we need to make today in order to create a better future. Before I say more, let us start with a message from UNICEF's Executive Director, Kathy Russell.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you virtually for this year's Dubai Future Forum. Your theme of empowering generations resonates strongly with all of us at UNICEF. Every day and all around the world, young people are taking positive action for a better future. They're demanding urgency in mitigating the impacts of climate change, perhaps the greatest challenge of our time. And they are calling for social justice, gender equality, and dignity for all. Some of those young people are with you today. They include our Youth Foresight Fellows, who've been an impressive force in shaping how UNICEF thinks about the future. Their ideas are reflected in the latest State of the World's Children report from UNICEF Innocenti, where we are launching today. Our report looks at what the world will look like for children born in 2050. Our analysis shows that the children of 2050 are likely to live in societies that are older than today's. More children will live in Africa, more will live in cities, and more will have access to the internet. And unless we take urgent action, more will be exposed to deadly climate risks like heat waves, floods, and droughts. The world is at a crossroads. Now is the time to ask ourselves, what kind of future do we want? Our choice today will lay the foundations for tomorrow. The future is now. By investing in the rights of children and the services they rely on, we can have a world where all children, including girls, are in school and learning, where every child has access to basic health care, shelter, food, and safe water. It's up to all of us to pick the right policies that can shape the future for the better for every child. Thank you so much.
Let me take a moment to tell you a little bit more about this report. Building on the words of our Executive Director, to understand the world of 2050 for children, this report examines the impact of three forces that we know will profoundly shape their lives: the demographic shifts, the climate and environmental crisis, as well as frontier technologies. The convergence of these forces will create ripple effects on other important forces impacting children, like inequity, migration, and urbanization. For example, demographic shifts and climate change directly influence migration patterns and urban growth, while the interplay of all these three trends affect economic and financial conditions and policy decisions that contribute to inequality. These forces demand our attention now more than ever. Of course, we cannot predict the future, what it will be like for our children. With that in mind, the report looks at three distinct scenarios: one that is worse than anticipated, one that is better, and then the third, which is business as usual scenario, and that's what we continue on our current trajectory, which I will speak to more about now. Regarding the demographic shifts, in 2050, we anticipate there will be 2.3 billion children, the same number roughly as today. Most will live in the regions currently home to the poorest countries, Eastern and Southern Africa, Western and Central Africa, as well as South Asia. More than 1/3 of these children will live in only 4 countries. You can probably guess which ones: China, India, Nigeria, and Pakistan. And 3 out of 5 children will live in cities, as the attraction to live in urban areas will continue to drive populations to migrate towards the cities. The second megatrend that we're examining is climate and environmental crisis. Nearly half of the world's children, about 1 billion, live in countries facing high risk of climate-related dangers. We know threats are intensifying globally. We see that every day in the news. And children are uniquely susceptible to these hazards. For example, the impacts of air pollution on their respiratory health and development can last a lifetime. We see major risks to children in the increasing spread of waterborne and mosquito-borne diseases, like malaria, dengue, and Zika, and a greater risk of food insecurity. Climate shocks can also close, damage, and destroy schools, and we have many examples from even recent weeks, and they displace children from their homes. Reducing carbon emissions to net zero is the only sustainable solution to safeguard childhoods. Getting there will require that we anticipate these hazards and mitigate their impacts to communities right now. The third megatrend is frontier technologies. These technologies, including artificial intelligence and neurotechnology, could significantly improve children's lives. But to harness the benefits of these technologies while mitigating risks, we need to ensure equitable access, robust regulation, and child-centric design. Digitalization is already changing work, education, healthcare, energy, and more. The demand for digital skills in the job market will only grow. And to be unconnected and unskilled in a digital world is to be deprived of an opportunity. What can we do in order to narrow the digital divide? To begin with, you cannot access the internet without electricity. Investing in infrastructure is a top priority. Services like digital payment systems and digital IDs rely on a digital infrastructure. Second in this area of frontier technologies is access and use. In Africa, 63% of the population owns a mobile phone today, but only 37% use the internet. A lot of barriers to connectivity still need to be addressed, especially for children. While digitalization can empower children, allowing them to learn, play, and connect with friends, it can also expose them to online risks, including exploitation and abuse. And without adequate governance, we will continue to face risks to privacy and algorithmic bias. These issues disproportionately affect marginalized groups and children with disabilities, potentially reinforcing systemic discrimination. In this report, we make several recommendations to governments, businesses, and others on how to chart the course today for a better tomorrow. We all know that in order to shape a better future for future generations, the decisions and policies have to be put in place today. And I want to highlight 3 areas building on these 3 megatrends that I have spoken to. The first one is in the area of education for children. We cannot continue business as usual. As I mentioned, the population trends will shift. There will be more children in some of the poorer areas of the world and a bigger group of children, and we're not able to train enough teachers and build enough schools at the pace that we're going. What role can technologies play in order to address this huge challenge? And today are the decisions that need to be made about how we invest in a future of education that can be at scale and response to those trends that lie ahead. The second area is in the area of addressing extreme poverty. Again, some of the poorest children will be the ones that we need to support to lift them to the level that they will be along with other parts of the world's population. And it's only by putting in place those policies and systems today that we again can be ready to address the impacts of these demographic trends that we're seeing. And thirdly is for all of us to contribute to the foresight thinking that is needed in order to address the challenges ahead, also in other areas than the two that I have mentioned, in order to adapt law and policy to really be able to address the issues of the future. You heard the executive director speak about how UNICEF Youth Foresight Fellows helped develop our thinking in this year's State of the World's Children report. I hope you've already had the opportunity to meet some of them here, as they're with us also during these 2 days of the Dubai Future Forum. But I will also now be joined by two of them, and I'm delighted to introduce two fellows, Rawan from Egypt and Joshua from Ghana. Please give them a big hand. Welcome, Rawan and Joshua. It's great to have you on stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I wanted to hear your perspectives a little bit. And a year ago, Rawan and Joshua, you were amongst 12 young people selected from 1,300 applicants. So congratulations, you made it to the 12.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And you became UNICEF Youth Foresight Fellows. And since then, you've been working with our youth engagement and strategy team and UNICEF's offices around the world to conduct foresight research with over 800 children and youth in their communities. They and our other youth fellows who are here today used insights from the State of the World's Children's report to create the Children of the 2050 exhibit that we will all be visiting on the first floor after this event. So first, Rawan and Joshua, it's quite a year for you guys. And a year ago, you were new to Foresight, and now you're here, leading experts with the biggest gathering of futurists in the world. How does it feel with what you have learned about Foresight?
It feels surreal. Just a year ago, I walked into this fellowship knowing absolutely nothing about foresight. And then a year into it, I was invited by the Prime Minister's think tank to build the capacities of 25 brilliant young researchers in foresight, which was something beyond anything I could imagine. I went back to my old school to explore the futures of employment with young girls and to see their insights and perspectives represented in UNICEF's global reports wouldn't have been possible without foresight.
Thank you, Rawan. Joshua, how about you?
It feels really exciting to be here. And for me, before joining the fellowship, I was already doing some amazing work with young people, founding a youth-led think tank in Ghana, and providing opportunities for young people to get into policy making. However, I think one thing that I have come to learn of foresight, and that's also reflective of the fact that I happen to sit here with all of you just 1 year after getting into foresight, is the fact that foresight is for everyone. And it's even more powerful when it's in the hands of young people. I say so because when young people get the opportunity to get into foresight, they don't only get an opportunity to imagine futures, they actually get an opportunity to imagine a future where they can also create, because they are part of this kind of future that they are imagining. And that's why it's essential for us to get more young people into foresight. And so yesterday, as part of the commencement, when I sat in the audience and we were asked, what will we change by next year? I felt that what we should change is the number of young people that we find in spaces like this. Get more young people in foresight and get young people to imagine and create that kind of future they want to live in.
Thank you, Joshua. So for us at UNICEF, it's been really great to see the work that you have done at country level. But I also wanted to ask you a little bit about the State of the World's Children's Report, and that looks at the three the megatrends that we mentioned. Rawan, given your research on well-being, what is your big takeaway from the report, specifically regarding artificial intelligence in 2050?
I'm very glad that frontier technologies are highlighted as one of the megatrends in the report, because their impact on discussions in my workshops was undeniable. I recall very clearly that one participant who said that he hates to deal with people who don't think for themselves, and that the integration of technology and humans will lead to a form of neo-slavery. And when he said this word, everyone was shocked. Neo-slavery? Are we really heading back toward that? And then a heated debate followed with one clear message, that we are truly concerned about the implications of losing human identity, and especially on children. And to address this, we need two things. First, do integrate child-friendly designs into AI developments. Second, we need to support investments in more sovereign data. Thank you.
Thank you, Rawan. Those are really important points, and once again, getting the insights from children and young people to inform our thinking is really critical. Joshua, given your Foresight research with children and youth in Ghana, what are your big takeaways, specifically in the report on the aspects of demographic shifts in 2050?
The demographic shifts, they are undeniable. Having worked with over 115 young people exploring the futures of education and skills in Ghana, it came out strongly that demographic shifts is one of the key drivers of change in areas especially like education. And I talk about a country like Ghana where you have 38% of the population being below age 14. And even this rate is starker when you look at the African continent. And as rightly mentioned in the introduction, Africa would have about 25% of the world's child population by 2050. And these figures is similar to what we would be experiencing in the global south. However, these are areas where already child needs are unmet. If you come to Ghana, we have about 74% of children being multidimensionally poor. And so it means that going into the future, we need kind of drastic actions and steps to be taken. So I'm very much excited to see that the State of the World's Children report highlights that we are going to see those demographic shifts, and they are going to be key drivers of change. However, and even go on to mention that we need 31 million teachers to be able to meet the demands the growing demands of children. And I think that it is true because we are already seeing it in our classrooms. In Ghana, for instance, our classrooms are overflowing, enrollment rates are incredibly at an all-time high. And so we need to really look at what we do when it comes to these demographic shifts. And I think that it's not even just about the number of teachers, but it's also about capacity, about training teachers or building up teachers who can actually prepare young people for the fourth and fifth industrial revolutions. And so I think that it is critical for us to leverage Foresight to basically explore what are the kind of teachers that we need for the future, what is the future teacher going to look like, and what are the things that they need to actually succeed. And I think that is where Foresight comes in. And so I think that if you find yourself in Foresight, in whatever way possible, I think we should leverage Foresight to be able to provide working solutions that speaks to the needs of children, because whatever future we imagine is actually going to be owned by these children. And so please, let's all find time, find space in our Foresight work and integrate child-based solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua, so much, and that really reinforces also our policy asks in terms of business as usual not being good enough, especially in education and addressing extreme poverty. So thank you, Rawan, thank you, Joshua. It was really great to have your insights and to remind us of how Foresight is a powerful way to connect and work with young people and children to inspire new thinking. And you've also both worked with the Children of 2050 exhibit on the first floor, which will be opening today at 12 o'clock. And this is here in the museum, and so I'm really excited to be guided by you as we go there. through the exhibit today. And friends, colleagues, while the report that we have launched just now is speaking to your minds, this exhibition, we trust, really will be able to speak to your hearts. It presents 6 child personas that allow visitors to explore 3 alternative futures in 2050. And we're delighted to have been able to work with the Dubai Future Foundation to create this activation. And we hope it will support us all to make better decisions today for the children of tomorrow. But now I would also like to invite you, the audience, to work with us in 3 ways. I think the first one is quite simple, read the report. But also visit the exhibition, because as I have said, bringing the mind into this space, but also bringing the heart, can help us really bring that shift that we're looking forward to. The second one is to really integrate the aspect of children into foresight thinking and anticipatory policy. We really want you to be with us in terms of flagging and you yourselves thinking, what is the perspective of future generations, of children in the future, as we're going through this issue or the new technology or the new initiative that we have as a business, as a government, as an academic institution, as an NGO or UN agency, and so forth. And thirdly is the point of bringing in children and young people in order to really help us think through what is there for the future. And I encourage you also to meet up with our fellows who are here today and to take the time to get their perspective. So a heartfelt thank to all of you who are here today, and I really look forward to your reactions, but also to your actions for the future. Thank you again for joining us at this launch.
الحضور الكريم، يرجى البقاء في